We are now doing classification of organism, and we have come to the next topic, which is fungus. Okay, so let us talk about the characteristics of fungus, or rather before talking about the characteristics, let us talk about the evolution of fungus. Okay, so what do we have first in evolution? This is Monera, which came roughly around 3,500 million years ago. After that we have Protista, isn't it? In Protista we had seen all the three characters were there. Plant-like Protista were there, animal-like Protistas were there, and fungal-like Protista, slime mold, fungal-like Protista were also there. So that means evolution is now gaining speed. Now after Protista comes fungus. Fungus came roughly around 600 million years ago. 600 million years ago. Okay. Now in fungus, what we see, the initial fungus, the lower fungus, they have cellulose in their cell wall. But as they advance, as they evolve, then this cellulose is replaced by chitin. They have chitin cell wall. Okay. So this is about fungus. This is fungus. Then evolved Plantae. Then evolved Animalia. Plantae. Animalia. So this is about just a little bit of briefing on the evolution. Now let us talk about the characteristics of fungus. Most important characteristics. What is the most important characteristics? It is achlorophyllous. Means there is no chlorophyll in fungus. Secondly, chitin is present. Chitin is present in the cell wall. Fungus have chitin cell wall. Third, they have thread-like structures called hyphae. And many hyphae together, they make mycelium. That means they have hyphae and mycelium. Very important character, another important character. Hyphae and mycelium is found only in fungus, in all the living world. So in fungus we find. So these three characters are specially found only in fungus, which divides fungus from the rest of the living world, are the presence of these characters. Then we have stored food. Stored food is glycogen. Stored food in living things are either glycogen or starch. Starch is present in plants and glycogen is present in animals, fungus. So that is. Then asexual reproduction by spores, most important. Then they have budding, fragmentation, everything is there. Whatever is there in asexual reproduction, it is present, but the most important is spores. They have this special feature which is called conidia, sporangia, all these things are there in fungus. Sexual reproduction is kind of in decline. In the lower forms we see proper sexual reproduction is there with the formation of gametes and all, but as they are advancing, sexual organs they become obliterated and gradually they switch over to asexual reproduction only. Sexual reproduction is totally gone, kind of. Okay, so sexual reproduction is present in some, not in all. Okay, so these are the characters, important characters of fungi as a whole. Now we shall see the classification of fungus and the special characters of those classes. Okay, so like this is it. This is about the characters. Let us see the classification of fungus. Fungus is divided into two groups, Phycomycetes and Eumycetes. Phycomycetes, as the name suggests, it is known as algal fungi because it has characters which are closer to plants like cellulosic cell wall, sexual reproduction with oogamous, isogamous way. These are all plant features. Okay, it is present in this fungi, so it is known as algal fungi. Eumycetes is known as true fungi. All the fungal characters are present in Eumycetes. They don't have any cellulosic cell wall and all that. They don't have any plant character. They have all fungus characters. So this is Eumycetes or true fungi. Phycomycetes is divided into two classes, Oomycetes and Zygoomycetes. Oomycetes is the most primitive fungi. Okay, it shows some of the features which belong to algae. It has oogamy, then it has cellulosic cell wall, which are not present in any other fungus, but it is present in Oomycetes. So it is the most primitive kind of fungus. Then is Zygoomycetes. Zygoomycetes is known as conjugation fungus. You must be aware of the process of conjugation, how genetic recombination takes place between two cells, two like cells. Okay, this we have seen in bacteria also. So similar thing is present in this group of fungus, which is known as Zygoomycetes. And so it is given a common name, conjugation fungi. Then we have Eumycetes, first group, that is Deuteromycetes. It is known as Fungi Imperfecting. Imperfecti word means no perfect stage is there. Perfect stage means sexual stage. After the sexual union, something comes up like zygote or some structure comes up. Those structures are absent in this group of fungus. So it is known as Fungi Imperfecti. Sexual reproduction is totally absent in this group. Then we have Ascomycetes, which is known as sac fungus because it has a sac-like body which contains spores. This is known as ascus. So from the ascus, this name Ascomycetes has come. This is known as sac fungus. Then the last group of fungus, that is Basidiomyositis, it is the most advanced of all fungus, most advanced fungus, and it is known as club fungus. The mushroom that we get in the market, or sometimes when we go out in rainy day on the soil, we will see something popping out, isn't it? The most prominent fungus, these are Basidiomyositis, most advanced fungus. Okay, so now we shall see the characteristic features of all the individual groups. Oomycetes, first group of classification of fungus. What are the characters of Oomycetes? Number one, most important, aseptate sinusotic mycelium. This is a mycelium, okay? Mycelium, and the nucleus has divided. It has divided many times, but there is no cell wall formation in between the nucleus. So a single cell will have many nuclei. So this condition is known as sinusotic. So the mycelium is sinusotic and aseptate. There is no wall in between. Aseptate. Okay, this is a very vital character of Oomycetes. It's a primitive character. Multicellular mycelium is a primitive character, and it is found in Oomycetes, which suggests that Oomycetes is a primitive fungus. Second, another primitive character, cell wall contains cellulose. Another primitive character. Sexual reproduction is oogamous. Another primitive character. Sexual reproduction, as we see in other fungi groups, which are advanced fungi groups, they do not have sexual reproduction so prominent. But here, sexual reproduction is proper sexual reproduction through gamete formation and all. So these are the qualities of Oomycetes. And some of the species here, they cause very serious disease of crops. Let's see. Number 1, Pythium dibanianum. It causes damping of seeds and seedlings. Phytophthora infestans, late blight of potato. Albugo candida, it affects crucifery plants like cabbage, cauliflower, mustard. This disease is seen in them. So this is about Oomycetes. Now we shall go to the next order. Next group is Zygoomyositis. Now let us see what are the features of Zygoomyositis. First, hyphal wall is made up of chitin. So here we see that chitin has come. Earlier in Oomycetis, we have seen that the hyphal wall was made up of cellulose, which is a primitive feature. But here, as per fungi, the true fungi should possess chitin. So we see Zygoomycetis having chitin. Then motile cell absent. In this group, there is total absence of motile cell. Asexual reproduction by non-motile sporangiophore. What is sporangiophore? Let us see. Say this is fungal hyphae. Hyphae are like this, root-like structure which goes inside the soil or in the organic matter. And this group sends out some aerial shoots like this. Okay, it comes out in the air and it contains round things like this. It contains some round stuff like this. Small ball like this. So this is hyphae. And this branch is known as sporangiophore. Sporangiophore. It contains sporangium. And sporangium will have, say this is broken, and sporangium will have spores. Very much like pollens in case of angiosperm. When the anther will break open, the pollens will fly away in the air. So similar feature is here also. When the sporangium will mature, it will pop open and the spores will be released and spread with the help of wind. They are non-motile, they cannot move on their own, but with the help of wind they can move. So this is how they proliferate. This is known as sporangiophore and these are known as spores or rather sporangiospores. Spores are a very important feature of fungi. Okay, let's see the next one. Sexual reproduction by conjugation. Another very important feature. Conjugation method is found only in Zygoomycetes. It's again a lower method of reproduction. Gamete multinucleated called cynogametes. The word cyno means multinucleated. Example is rhizopus, bread mold. You must have observed in bread many times when we keep it outside and there is a fungal growth over there. Blue color, yellow color, black color, it depends on how many days it has been kept outside. So one of the fungus is rhizopus. It is also called bread mold. So this was Zygoomycetes. Our next group is Deuteromycetes, which is called Fungi Imperfecting. Why imperfecting? Because there is no sexual stage in this group of fungus. Rather, all those fungi which do not have any sexual reproduction or any sexual structure in their life cycle, they are included in Deuteromycetes group. And that is why it is known as artificial group, because a superficial character has been taken to group them. So that is about Deuteromycetes, no sexual reproduction, and asexual reproduction is by conidia. Let's see some of the examples, important examples of this group. Number 1, Fusarium moniliforme. It's an important fungi because it gives rise to gibberellin. It's a plant hormone. Industrially, Fusarium is used to produce gibberellin. Next is Trichoderma. This is yet another very important fungus. It is used in production of cyclosporin A, a very important medicine. This is an immunosuppressant. This is used during organ transplant operations and like that. Cyclosporin A. It comes from Trichoderma. Then we have Arthrobotrys oligospora. It's a kind of nematocidal fungus. It kills the nematodes. Then Alternaria solani. Many of the species here, they are also parasites on plants like this one. This is This causes early blight of potato. So this was about Deuteromycetes. Let us move on to the next group. In fungal classification, our next group is Ascomycetes, which is known as sac fungi. It also has no motile cell. We have seen in quite a number of groups they don't have any motile cell. Motile cell as in they can move on their own. They don't have any such cell. Fungus they don't have. And this group has ascospore. Ascospore are formed endogenously within the asci. It's another type of fruiting body. Basically fungus, the group fungi has been divided depending on their sexuality and their fruiting body. So as we saw in Zygoomyositis, they had sporangiospore, and here they have asci. This asci is sac-like. That is why this group is known as sac fungus. This is sac-like in structure and it contains ascospores. Important examples are penicillium. Penicillium gives rise to penicillin antibiotic. Then we have aspergillus. This is used for developing citric acid. And this also spoils food. In bread you see aspergillus also. Claviceps, Claviceps purpurea, this is a parasite which infect crops. Neurospora, this is used in genetics many a times. And Saccharomyces, the yeast that we use in the house. The yeast, common scientific name is Saccharomyces. So this is about Ascomycetes. Now let us go to the last group, which is Basidiomyositis. Yes class, now we have come to the last of our fungal classification and that is Basidiomyositis. This group is the most advanced group of fungus. This is known as club fungi. Now let us see the character. A fruiting body is called basidiocarp. Like fruiting body is most prominent in this group. And as you can see, it has the hyphae are there as usual, and it has a very prominent fruiting body with a stalk which is known as stipe and an umbrella-like upper body which is divided into gills and piliers. So if you have seen mushroom, then you will very clearly see the gills and the top portion which is known as piliers. Now the whole thing is known as basidiocarp. So this is the most striking feature of Basidiomyositis, and let us see the examples now. Some of the Basidiomyositis are very important economically also, like Agaricus campestris and Agaricus bisporus. These two are edible mushrooms. Then we have toadstool, which grows by themselves after rain. We can see in the mud they are growing by themselves. Toadstool and bracket fungus. It grows on the branches, on the stem, on the bark actually, on the bark of trees. Bracket fungus. Okay. Now this is all about fungus classification. There are a few points about the uses of fungus. Let us discuss them one by one quickly. So this I'll just rub. Yes class, now we are discussing the good effect and bad effect of fungus. So to talk about the good effect, most important feature that comes to mind is mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza is a symbiotic relationship. It's a good side of fungus. What does it do? Here it makes a symbiotic association with roots of higher plants like gymnosperm and angiosperm. And both of them, the fungus and the higher plant, they both help each other. In what way? Fungus will increase the absorptive area for the plant so as to take in more water and mineral from soil, and the plant in turn will help to give the fungus protection and home. Fungus can live in the plant, so it gets a home. So that way both of them help each other. Now let us just see how they function. Okay, mycorrhiza is of two types. Mycorrhiza is of two types. One is ectomycorrhiza and the other is endomycorrhiza. Ectomycorrhiza, as the name suggests, it stays outside the plant. Like it forms a covering around the root. Like root hairs. So these are very thread-like structures. So they function as root hair only for the plant, and they increase the absorptive area. This is called this is the fungus. It looks like root hair, and this is the cortex. So it remains outside only. This is known as ectomycorrhiza. Then we have another type which is called endomycorrhiza. What happens here is the hyphae of the fungus, it penetrates inside the cells, inside the cortex. We have cortex here, cortex of the root. So the hyphae of the fungus will spread inside the cortical cells, and they will go in the cells, penetrate the cells also, and they will form vesicles or hair-like structure which is known as arbuscle. They form vesicle and arbuscle, and hence this mycorrhiza is also known as vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, or in short VAM. This is often asked in exam, what is VAM? So VAM is nothing but a type of mycorrhiza, vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. It's a type of endomycorrhiza. So that's about the mycorrhiza. Now let us see the bad side of fungus, some of the bad side. Okay, so we had discussed about the bread spoilage or roti spoilage, whatever food we keep outside for a longer period of time, they are attacked by fungus and they are rendered inedible. We cannot eat them. So the fungus which grows on them, they are mucor, aspergillus, rhizopus and penicillium. They give variety of color, like aspergillus it will be blackish, then there are some which will be bluish in color, there are some that will be yellowish in color. All these things will appear if we keep bread or rotis for 4-5 days. Aspergillus also spoils the leather goods. Then we have one fungus which affect human and cause a disease which is known as athlete's foot, and it is caused by Trichophyton interdigitae. So these were some of the good and bad effects of fungus. Hope you have understood. Yes class, now we have come to the last of our fungal classification, and that is Basidiomyositis. This group is the most advanced group of fungus. This is known as club fungi. Now let us see the character. A fruiting body is called basidiocarp. Like fruiting body is most prominent in this group. And as you can see, it has the hyphae are there as usual, and it has a very prominent fruiting body with a stalk which is known as stipe, and an umbrella-like upper body which is divided into gills and piliers. So if you have seen mushroom, then you will very clearly see the gills and the top portion which is known as piliers. Now the whole thing is known as basidiocarp. So this is the most striking feature of Basidiomyositis, and let us see the examples now. Some of the Basidiomyositis are very important economically also, like Agaricus campestris and Agaricus bisporus. These two are edible mushrooms. Then we have toadstool, which grows by themselves after rain. We can see in the mud they are growing by themselves. Toadstool and bracket fungus. It grows on the branches, on the stem, on the bark actually, on the bark of trees. Bracket fungus. Okay. Now this is all about fungus classification. There are a few points about the uses of fungus. Let us discuss them one by one quickly. So this I'll just rub. So what are they? One is mycorrhiza, which is a very important character of fungus, and it is seen in some of the species of Zygoomyositis. Mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza. What is this? It is a symbiotic relation. Symbiotic relation between roots of higher plants like gymnosperm especially, but some angiosperms also, between roots of higher plant and fungus. So they help each other. It's a symbiotic relation, means the fungus helps the plant. How? By increasing the surface area of absorption of water and mineral. And the plant in return helps the fungus by giving it accommodation and protection. So this is how they help each other. How does it look like? I can just show you quite briefly and quite fast actually. So say these are the cells, okay, cells of the root. Cells of the root. If we take the cross section of the root, say this is the root cross section, and I'm just concentrating on the cells of the cortex. We have epidermis, then we have cortex in the root. So these are the cells of the cortex. Now the fungus, here we have two types of fungus which forms mycorrhiza. One is ectomycorrhiza, one is endomycorrhiza. Ecto will just remain on the surface, and they will not penetrate inside. They will just remain on the surface, and they will kind of surround the root hair and increase the absorptive area. And the endorhiza, they will send their hyphae inside and form vesicles, or they will form hyphae-like structure known as arbuscles. So they form vesicle, or they form arbuscle. Vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. This is known as VAM. Very important. This is vesicular. It will be vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. It's a type of mycorrhiza, and mycorrhiza is a type of symbiotic association between fungus and root of advanced plants. So this is about mycorrhiza. Now we have some useful and harmful fungus which I can just mention quickly. Bread is spoiled by bread spoilage. As I told you earlier, it is caused by quite a few fungus. Let's see what are they. Mucor. Then we have Aspergillus. Then we have Rhizopus. And then we have Penicillium. All this sits on the bread. You can grow all of them. Just keep the bread outside and just sprinkle few drops of water and keep it in a plastic. All this will come. They have different variety of colors. So these are food spoilers. Then we have some parasitic fungus like Phytophthora and Rhizopus, which spoils vegetables. Then Aspergillus, it spoils leather also, leather goods. Sometimes we can see some cloudy things or some dusty things on the leather stuff. So those are Aspergillus. Then we have a human disease. One human disease which is known as athlete's foot. Athlete's foot, you must have heard about this. ATHLETE, foot. This is caused by a fungus, and the name is Trichophyton interdigitale. Trichophyton interdigitale. Trichophyton interdigitale. It causes an athlete foot. So this was just a few names of uses and harmful effect of fungus. So with this we conclude the topic fungus. Now we shall move to the next classification, which is plantae.